Welcome to Godly Ascendance Podcast, a platform where we give you insightful godly wisdom so you can rise, lead, and dominate. We would love to hear from you. Leave a comment or send us a voice note on WhatsApp at +265 887 115 964. Here are some amazing comments from our previous episodes.
Habari. My name is Annie Nyirenda. I am from Tanzania, Ruvuma region. I am a business lady here in Tanzania. Thank you so much, Brother Mike, for sharing this podcast on people to avoid. I have learned that in order to accomplish the vision, you have to separate yourself. You have to set boundaries on the people you need to have around, as the word of God says in Proverbs 13, verse 20. He that walked with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. May good Lord help us to avoid such people mentioned here. And it is our prayer that we have good people in our business. We have good people around us. May God bless.
Now, enjoy today's episode with Mike Mkali.
Hi, Muribanji. Thank you so much for the feedback. We love to hear from you. And in today's episode, before I start, I want to give a big shout out to Paul Kachala and Vivian for helping out setting our own studio for Godly Ascendance podcast. So some months ago, Paul said, Mike, this thing is so good. You need to set up the studio. Then I was like, isn't that extreme? But hey, here we are with our own studio. So because of this, I bring you good news. It now means Godly Ascendance will be coming to you every Monday. So every Monday morning, we'll be releasing an episode, a dosage to carry you for the week. All right. I know it's been a minute since we last shared the last episode, but we are here now. And I still remember the promise that I made to answer the question that what if the people to avoid is your spouse or a sibling that you actually can't avoid? I'll answer that question, but for now, let's talk about the people to keep around.
Number 1, sponsors and connectors. Having a vision is good, but along the journey, we need sponsors and connectors. These are people that sponsor your progress in life. They are the people that have resources that you do not have and do enter rooms that you do not have access to. Sponsors come in business as angel investors. Sponsors do recommend your name for a particular project or work. Sponsors act as a bridge for you to get to the next level. Sometimes sponsors and connectors may not have the things you want, but their recommendation is so powerful and can move mountains in your life. It reminds me of the early days when me and my colleagues started a real estate company, when people barely knew us after we just got out of college. One big company sponsored us by allowing us to use their name as a partner and use their boardroom as our office. Within 3 months, we made tremendous sales and got our own office. And through their recommendation, we skyrocketed upwards. We had this brilliant business idea that never took off until the sponsors came in. And the idea that had not worked for 2 years, it worked within 3 months, making me and my partners millionaires. For you to find your place at the table, you need to find a sponsor who can invite you to have a seat at the table. In the Bible, it's like when King Saul was looking for someone who could play music for him, and somebody recommended David, then even though he was in the bush. That was a connector. Number 2, mentors and coaches. Mentors and coaches show you the way on how to get there. Mentors are people that have been to places that you want to get to and share their personal experience. On the other hand, coaches do show you what you need to do now to get to the preferred version of your vision. For example, a football player may want to follow what CR7 does, but a coach will show you what is applicable to you. They both act as directors, showing you the way. Dr. Mike Murdock said mentors are shortcut to destiny. Why reinvent the wheel when you can actually learn from others? Most of the times we are attracted to great people, but like Apostle Joshua Selman normally says, learn both from crowns and scars. Even those that have failed can show you what not to do. A story is told that one time in the evening, a drunk man took a shortcut via a graveyard and accidentally fell into an old tomb. He tried everything but could not come out. After getting tired, he slept in the tomb. Sometime later in the same evening, another person fell into the same tomb, and he started trying to push himself up but kept failing to come out. The drunkard who earlier fell into the same tomb heard some noise and woke up and said, "I tried that before. You cannot come out." The second person got adrenaline and got out and shared with the whole village that ghosts are real. In the Bible, it's like David's father who made sure that when David was going to the palace to meet Saul, he carried a gift for the king. Though that looked small, but it created an impression before Saul that David, though a poor young man, but he was different. And King Saul gave him a more permanent position as his arm bearer. Number 3, powerful and influential people. These people are gatekeepers of various destinies. They could be business owners, CEOs, senators, members of parliament, or presidents, and generally people of authority. Some things you will never access them until you get to the very top of people who make decisions in the particular industry. Powerful people might not be nice or sometimes care less about you as underdogs, but they are a bridge to the next level. In the Bible, David had the ability to take down Goliath. But no matter how skilled he was with the string, he needed permission from King Saul to fight Goliath. Until Saul gave permission, David could not step into the battlefield. The reality is that for you to enter some places of destiny, you need some people in authority. And for you to live and break some limitations, you need people in authority and power to give you access. Number 4, burden bearers. Burden bearers are people who love and are willing to take care of you just because of you, not necessarily what you can give them back. You might not have any value to them, but because of their big hearts, they are willing to take you in their shoulders. Burden bearers are like the Good Samaritan who, on his way, found an unknown person beaten up and left for dead. He stopped, treated him, and actually paid people to take care of him and made a promise that he would pay more if need be. A story is told of Elon Musk when both Tesla and SpaceX were about to be declared bankrupt. His old friends from PayPal came and made an investment into SpaceX, giving it one more chance to prove that their affordable rockets would work. This was at a time when most people had lost hope in these companies and were not willing to risk their money. It was after this investment that SpaceX had a successful launch and eventually secured a contract with NASA that kept the company afloat. Talking of David, Jonathan was David's burden bearer, who did everything possible to protect David, despite it being obvious that David would challenge the very same throne that he was destined to take over someday. Who is that one person that if you were in trouble you would call and you are sure they would do anything in their power to come through for you? That is your burden bearer. Number 5, the loyalists and executioners. These people are so loyal and are willing to do anything for you. People who believe in your vision so much and that they can execute things without doubting or questioning you. As you are building your vision, not all times you will have time to explain why you are doing what you are doing. Of course, it's always dangerous when loyalists and executioners meet a bad or manipulative person. During Second World War, there was a battle line known as No Man's Land. For years, the Allied and the German forces dug trenches on both sides, engaging in a slow and deadly stalemate of shooting and hiding. This strategy caused conflict to drag on with little progress. In 1944, under the leadership of General Dwight, the Allies launched the famous D-Day invasion. This strategy focused on targeting a section of the German defenses that was less fortified but was not favorable for the Allied forces, but prevented many more from dying in a prolonged war. Inasmuch as it did not make sense to the soldiers, and a lot of soldiers lost their lives on this day, it was the best strategy to end the war, which could have definitely prolonged further. By this far, you know that we cannot go on without mentioning David. To David it was Joab, his trusted general, who did everything David asked, including the worst scandal by David of killing Uriah. And when David was temporarily dethroned by his own son, he chose to side with David, even though at this point he had no advantage or privilege. When you find the royalists or executioners, treat them well. They are a rare gift and don't take them for granted. Number 6, the wise. These are people with vast knowledge and understanding who are able to guide one in making strategic decisions. They are people who are able to see things differently and help give a bigger picture. Alexander the Great had a great mentor, the legendary philosopher of all times, Aristotle. If you look at Alexander the Great, despite being a great military personnel, he had some great insights that were beyond just a military campaign. For instance, if you surrender, Alexander the Great didn't attack your city, you were just subjected to taxes, and he married daughters of most of the kings that were under his reign. For a soldier to think this way, you can tell that he had a wise counsel behind him. One of the famous quotes from Aristotle was that excellency is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. Though we don't see Aristotle personally coaching the Macedonian army, but Alexander the Great took it to heart, and it was the very definition of his army. Similarly, David had Ahithophel, man who was so wise that it is recorded in the Bible that when he spoke, it was like, "Thus saith the Lord." Surround yourself with wise people, like the Bible says. He who walks with the wise grows wise. Sometimes these wise people might be accessed through their books or their outlets, in these days through their social media. Whatever the case, make sure you surround yourself with wise people. Number 7, the skilled. Whatever vision you are building, you always need highly skilled people. Great teams are made of stars. Whatever vision you are building, you will always need highly skilled people. Great teams are made up of A-stars. Your vision will only progress to the level of the skill of the people that surround your vision. The success of your vision is very much dependent on the skill of the people that work on it. Great performers bring great results. Jack Ma, in his book titled Alibaba, he made a confession that he is not smart, and though he runs a tech company, doesn't know programming. He, however, admits that he is good at bringing smart people around. In education, Harvard is the best university in the world, but they also take the smartest people in the world. Tesla, the most innovative EV company, is famous for its strict choosing of its employees. Let's go to football. La Liga has Barcelona and Real Madrid. They are both top performers, but they are also known to have the world's top players. I would talk about Premier League, but Man U is not doing well right now. I miss the old days when we had the David Beckham, Cristiano Ronaldo. If you know, you know. Maybe we need to just remove the Red Devils and put something. How far your vision will go will be determined by the quality of people that are working on it. America is the most innovative and very rich country because it is able to attract the great talent and skills around the world. You find almost the very top talent in America. On the other hand, Africa has always sent its strongest people out of the continent during slave trade, and even now, most bright African minds are not working in Africa. The results are also evident. Always work with the highly skilled people. Always. You will save time and accelerate at a supersonic speed. David was the king who extended the kingdom of Israel so further than any other king. But he also had a great profile of soldiers that were so instrumental in his victory, famously called the mighty men of David. Number 8, the moral compasses. When you are rising in power and influence, it's easy to lose yourself if there is nobody who can correct you. You are definitely in trouble. One of the things that made Adolf Hitler to fail and become the historical villain was because at the top of his career, he became deaf to reasoning and he had no moral compass. When you begin to rise in power, very few people are courageous enough to tell you the truth of what you are doing wrong. Sometime back when we were hiring an accountant, she said a bold statement to me and my co-founder. She said, as your financial manager, forget that you are the founders, because when it comes to financial decision, I'll speak my mind. And be okay with that, because now I'm the stakeholder to this company. In pursuit of your vision, you need people who can tell you the truth when you are wrong. Nathan was so courageous to tell David that he was wrong by sleeping with another married woman and later on killing her husband to marry her. You always need the moral compass. Number 9, family. We get to choose the people that we associate with, but we don't get to choose family. Though most people ignore family, they are most likely the ones that would still be around if you would lose everything. Along the street to my office, there's a madman who is usually outside a certain fence and keeps on disturbing traffic, and is mostly very dirty. One time I heard a story that this man was once a lawyer, but later went insane. I imagine at this point that his church, former business associates, clients he defended in court didn't want to do anything with him, but his family could not. As you remain successful or pursue your vision, don't ignore your family, for we don't get to know tomorrow. As you remain successful or pursue your vision, don't ignore your family, for we don't know what tomorrow has for us. For my fellow African brethren, let's keep on paying those black taxes. Even David, when he was freeing from Saul, he took his family with him. And in a later stage when he was king of his nephew, was actually friends with his firstborn son Amnon, and they were both at the palace, demonstrating that he kept his family both in trouble and success. Number 10, the people you are investing in. Life is not one-way stream. As you are keeping people around, make sure you are also a person who adds value to others. Growth comes through giving to others. As we finish, let's talk about David. David had all this amazing quality of people that I had limited to 10. But there were just a lot of other amazing people that David kept. But David himself was a blessing to others. It is recorded that David gathered people who were in distress, everyone in debt and discontented, and he became their leader, and at the end of his life, he made them great. It is also recorded that David, when he was at the peak of his career or at the peak of him being the king, he asked the question, are there still people in Saul's family so that I can show them favor? This is the kind of attitude that you need to have, that it's always not about taking, but it's also about you giving. As I finish this episode, let me go back to the question that was earlier asked. What if the people to avoid is your spouse or your sibling? People who by default you can't actually avoid. Now, before you judge your spouse or your siblings, are you the people to keep around? I want to encourage you to build a relationship with Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior, so that you can become light to people around you. And you let that light shine to your spouse, your siblings, the people around you, because the light has the ability to defeat darkness. As we finish, I want you to always make it a point that you are going to let your light shine. Yes, I want you to sing that song. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine.
Thank you for listening to this podcast by Godly Ascendants. We hope you enjoyed this episode.